number 16. It's the beginning of month, June 1st. So I have some updates for you. Actually, I have some exciting updates for you. So let's get on with it. I hope you had a good last 2 weeks. And we're plugging along. We have been working very hard for the last 2 weeks. There has been a lot of updates. So you may see some things broken on the apps because the networks are getting updated almost daily because of all the changes that are made. But that's generally all good. So that's why we haven't announced it on Twitter to look at our apps yet. Is just the immediate community that closely following us. So just to give you the exciting update is that we have the two-phase commit merged, and we have multiple file uploads incorporated with some of the apps, and it's working great. So it's much faster than before, because before it was sequential. He had to wait for one file upload or one operation. Now it's concurrent operations. So you can do multiple file uploads, you could do multiple copies, you could do multiple moves, you could do multiple deletes, you could do multiple operations. It could be a mixed operation. So this is actually very innovative, and certainly gets us to a point where we can effectively compete with traditional storage protocols like S3, and in fact be better than them. And the reason we are going to be better than them is because we can now do concurrent operations. We're not doing anything sequential. So with that, I'm gonna talk a little bit about some of the things that are coming up, and that's why a lot of things are happening in parallel, and we've been really busy. So one of the things that are happening is the conference Web3 Berlin. So what we're doing there is we're gonna do a hackathon, and the organizers have been pretty interested in having us incorporated in one of their hackathon tracks because we're an innovative storage platform. And so one of the things they're waiting for is our hackathon deliverables, and I'm gonna show you what the deliverables are, which is why we haven't marketed, or they haven't marketed it yet with our logo and everything. So the thing that we are waiting on is let me quickly go here. So basically we're looking at the SDK. So there are several repos that we're going to release. The JavaScript SDK, the new JavaScript SDK, which you guys have not seen yet, sample iOS app, sample Android app, and both of these apps have combination of Bolt and Volt components, but not extensive components. So it's something simple for people to kind of get their feet wet with our SDK, our technology. And then sample website using Zeus, and then sample web app using Zeus, right? So all of these are going to be released today, tomorrow. Some of them are going to be released today. Some of them are going to be released tomorrow. And then we're also going to have the hackathon flow on our website. So people will basically log in from our website. So this will enable us to get more visibility, which is why we incorporate the hackathon flow within our website. And also it essentially, we become the hackathon platform. So later on, when we work with meetup groups or any other groups that partner with hackathon platforms, they can partner with us. So now essentially we already have the hackathon platform, and then we can showcase the winners of the hackathon on our website, and they can submit their team, their work through our portal within the website. This way, we're independent. We don't have to depend on a hackathon partner. We don't have to spend money on that, and we just basically work with partners that wants to work with us. They do the marketing, and we have the infrastructure to conduct an hackathon virtually anywhere. So this hackathon with, and by the way, the Gitbook documents related to all of this will be also available on Friday. So one of the things is that we are, these hackathon that I want the hackathon materials is, so if you look at Web3 Berlin and some of the other guys we're working with, they're essentially working with us for free. And which leads to the testament that they really like the technology and they want this technology to be part of crypto. And we are fortunate and we are grateful for that. And those are the partners we want to work with, because we don't want to necessarily work with paid partners. So that's one of the reasons we are excited to work with these partners first. And later on, when we scale, we could work with additional partners that are essentially paid partners. But we like this format because we wanted the format to be something that allows people to develop applications, because a lot of the hackathon partners have weekends or short events, which or long events. They were all over the map. So we decided that we want to work with partners that can enable developers to build something for a week and be able to get prizes in ZCN. There will be first, second, third prize, and there will be prizes for qualified prizes. Prizes for qualified submissions of about 100 submissions, and the prizes will vary from 5,000 to the winner, 5,000 ZCN to the winner, to second prize to be 3,000, and then 2,000 for the third place, and then 500 ZCN for people who submit a qualified GitHub repos and Loom videos, but are not able to win for whatever reason, right? So that's the format for hackathons, and if it works out, we'll scale, and maybe you guys can also help us scale with meetup groups and communities within your local area. So that's about hackathon. Now I want to talk about mainnet. So one of the things I want to show is that, as you can see, we're about 45 issues. I don't know if okay, there we go. So as you can see, there are 45 issues that are left to be done, but out of that, we have 5 in review, and then 12 that are in progress. So about 17 are expected to be done within a week. And so this number should go down to in the 20s probably by next week, and we hope that it stays there, because what happened last time, if you look at our mainnet, what happened last time is we had 48 issues left. But then you're saying, okay, did we just do 3 issues? Well, no, we actually did, there were 71 issues. So we actually did a lot more because it ballooned by another 23 issues the last 2 weeks. So we actually did 26 issues that were completed in the last 2 weeks, which is significant. And so basically, we want that number to dwindle down to 24 issues by June 14th, and by end of the month to 0. That's when we want to release the mainnet. So that's kind of the high level goal. Let me walk you through what we have been working on, and what is left. So if you look at, we incorporated the buy sell ZCN. This is through a graph node that was done yesterday, but everything broke. So that's why I said some of the apps may not be working, because our CI/CD broke because of that, and we are fixing it today. But that should be available for all the apps, all the Bolt apps. Before, you couldn't do the buy sell process through the decentralized exchange. Now you should be able to do it. We use a graph node to do the buy and sell, and that wasn't incorporated before. So now it has. So you can try that out on the Bolt app, and in all of the apps we use the same module. So the streaming is something that is still being incorporated with all the apps. As you know, with Volt, we have mobile, desktop, and we have web. But even in even in desktop, we have Windows and Mac, and Windows use CLI. Mac uses the Mobile Go SDK. So all of these components, we needed to update the interface and integrate with the front end. So that we expect that to be completed by this weekend. And then in terms of putting it on the store, it'll be probably by June 14th. So all the mobile and desktop apps were going through the process of approval. We expect all of that to be done by June 14th. And within that time, as you can see, the multi-file upload would be done, as well as concurrent operations. So these are two kind of big things, big PRs that are being integrated with the mobile apps. So once these are done, in parallel, we're also doing load testing, chaos and DDoS, and we expect that to happen this weekend. We're very close to getting essentially 0 errors, which is what we are hoping for before we pass this gate. So we need 0 errors for our load test, chaos, DDoS, and then we also want to do Cypress test, which is going to take some time because we have to write that code, and Byzantine and benchmark is expected to be completed by this week as well. At least the ones that are incorporated within our system already. So the expectation is that, okay, we will finish all of this and we will start the active set. And if you look at this timeline here, Cypress is June 14th, active set begins June 14th. So we expect, we'll do some manual testing. So right now, Cypress is essentially kind of automated app testing on testnet. Right now, we'll have to do some manual testing while the load test is in process. And then if you're satisfied with that, then we can go to active set, but we will need to do Cypress testing because it's all automated and much more rigorous than we can do with manual testing, because we can actually load test with Cypress. So that's the advantage of using Cypress. So active set, will likely begin June 14th. We haven't announced to our active set group yet, because we're waiting for basically these three things: the load test, chaos, DDoS, to pass this weekend. Then we will get some confidence in giving the active set the date for when they need to be ready. And then we expect, the active set test will probably take a week, where we conduct the same test, the load test, the Cypress test, the chaos we cannot do, but DDoS tests. And then if that passes, then essentially we will call it mainnet ready by June 21st. And then the launch should be whenever we decide to launch. It could be, we'll find a date and then do a countdown on the website. I should note that there are a couple of things that we are basically waiting on. There are challenge token rewards. We're removing Cassandra. So you have challenge, token rewards. These are kind of the critical items. So among critical items, we already did two-phase commit, MPT, fees, config, blocks, and all that. But there are other, I would say, not as critical item, but need to be done. So challenge, we want to make sure the challenge works perfectly. Our system test is not as rigorous yet, so we want to make sure that works. We also want to make sure the token rewards work the way it should work. So these two we expect to be complete by this week. It may spill over to next week. Cassandra, we expect it to be completed by this week. So we're removing Cassandra, which is a big deal because, Cassandra was taking up too much space. It's a inefficient database and we're using it for only one or two things. Now that we have moved over to Postgres, because most of the stuff that we do are on Postgres. So we're gonna remove Cassandra, and then we're updating RocksDB as we speak. So we have done that already, and we need to basically load test it. And then we're also waiting on a couple of items. One is the split key Bluetooth. So right now the split key is based on Wi-Fi. We want to convert to Bluetooth so that it can be a two-way. Right now it's only a one-way from mobile to web. Mobile to desktop. And then the zero box needs to be highly available, and that's something that we need to do in terms of benchmarking, load testing it. So we need to write some tests to make sure it performs the way it should perform when it's when there is a lot of load on the server. We also want to benchmark how much it can handle, and then we want to scale. So let's say there are 1 million subscribers, then what do you do, right? So we want to shard and scale and be able to handle the load. So that's something we want to complete before we are mainnet ready, because all the apps are integrated within the system and they need to work, and they need the zero box to work. So that's pretty much the whole picture of where things are. There's a lot of things going on. In terms of marketing, the videos, I know you guys wanted the videos on each of the apps, and they are being worked on. I believe the first video for the Vault should be ready by, I don't know, June 4th. This may be cutting it to close. Maybe this is June 6th probably. And then subsequently we will have the blimp, and I think this is going to be June 14. And then this would be June, Chimney should be June 21, and then 21, and then Bolt would be about the same time, and then Chalk would be the last. So in terms of the Chalk, by the way, we did move the schedule for Chalk to June 14th. It's not ready yet. There are quite a few things that needs to be sorted out. It's more, we're actually adding some features which weren't there before, so that's why the timeline has moved. But we expect June 14th should be a good date to launch Chalk. All right, so I think I've gone through all the schedules. As I said, there's a lot of things going on. And what I'll do now is switch over to some questions that you guys have. By the way, all the apps are live on the main domain. By main domain, I mean atlas.cloud. So let me do this. So if you look at, it's on bolt.holdings, right? There is chimney.software, blimp.software, atlas.cloud. So that's where all the, and then vault.network. So these are, should be all working. And there are a few bugs here and there, and we know some of them bugs. One of the things you need to do is select a network. You will see like switch network. When you land on it, if you refresh the screen, it generally pops up a screen that tells you, okay, which network do I want to join? And the network you want to select is the most updated is usually dev. And the testnet and the demo are not updated, but I believe we just updated demo network. So these two should be the ones that are working. But dev definitely should work because it's the most latest. But the problem with the dev network is that it's being redeployed many times, even sometimes twice, more than once per day. So you might have to reset and do it, test it incognito or private browser mode so that you can remove all the cache and restart testing. All right. Okay, so there are a couple of AMA questions, so I want to go through them. And let me bring it up. Okay, so let me share that. I think some of them just came in today. I haven't really looked, so okay. So the first question is, how will Zeus manage the inflation with the targeted little organic grow on the data side? Will there be enough customers in the beginning to manage the inflation pressure which blobber sharders and miners will create automatically to break even of their running cost? What happens if price fall below 10 cents? Is there some kind of death spiral emerge if the price falls too much? Example, blobbers, miners, sharders will have negative running costs. That's a good question. We don't know how the market dynamics will work. There's obviously, once we go mainnet, there is the risk, the product risk, the technology risk is taken out, which is huge. It's now dependent on the market. So there's a market risk. Now, what you're talking about is a market risk. What we are going to be doing is we're going to be using, so on our end, on zero chain end, we are going to be marketing Vault and Blimp and Chimney to both consumers and enterprises, as well as Chalk. So these four should essentially prevent this death spiral you're talking about. And if you look at some of the other platforms, whether it's SIA, StorageJ, Arweave, and Filecoin, they didn't go through the dip that you're mentioning, or speculating. I mean, it's all speculation at this point, whether the price will fall or rise or what have you. And we don't know the game dynamics that's going to play a role in terms of whether people will hold on to the tokens or will they sell the tokens. So it's more a dynamics that based on people's personality, they or their current financial scenario. For instance, I'll give you an example. If your house were to fall in value, would you sell it, right? Or are you going to live in it? So that's kind of that's one of the things that we think will prevent our token from having a death spiral, because we have a physical asset. So if you store data, are you going to pull the data, or are you going to stop serving the data? So those are the two things you need to sort out. If you're at a data center, so that's why we're actually working with people who already have data centers. And if they have a data center, the cost is essentially zero because they have a spare server sitting there doing nothing. And all they're doing is having that server join the network. We have a pipeline of several service providers who are going to do that. And we're going to set up a relationship with them in terms of having them provide these servers on our network for storage. And in return, we will take care of the token part, so they don't need to have any risk on the token part. Similarly, we're doing something on the consumption side where people want to store data and they don't care where they store the data, and they want to pay in fiat. And what we can do is basically take the fiat and handle the tokens. So from zero change perspective, if any deal comes through us, we will basically handle the token part, which takes out all the risks. And then we will handle in fiat and be able to have zero risk for the guys who are consuming storage as well as people who are providing storage. Whatever the net difference is, we'll basically use for tokens. So there'll be a net increase of buying tokens because we need the tokens to operate. Otherwise, you cannot store data. It's that simple. Our token, unlike other tokens in crypto, or some of the tokens in crypto, is an essential utility. Without that, our storage will not work. So we need the token, so we need to buy that token. And so that's how we'll handle it. And I'm sure that other people will have other providers or other MSPs will have a similar model. So we're essentially becoming a pseudo MSP to kind of jumpstart the ecosystem, to help the ecosystem, but I'm sure others will kind of follow the model. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but in general, if our product is good, it's better than AWS, there's no reason for people not to store data on our platform because of all the benefits, whether it's privacy, private data sharing, as well as transparency, being able to switch providers on the fly. That's something that's not available today. So I don't see any reason why people won't store data on Zeus, because they can have their own server and have total control of their data. So the only reason they may not store it initially is because they don't want to, because it's a new technology. They don't know, right? It's the fear of the unknown. And but that will be overcome eventually, and so they will store some data, but they won't store all of their data. So and I'm sure they will probably replicate it some other place like an archive or something, so they can recover it. But we are a high performance storage, so they should store data on our platform. Given all things are equal, we are better than AWS in terms of performance, price, security, privacy, and transparency, and all of that, and GDPR and tracking data and all of that, right? So there's no reason why an IT manager should refuse to store data on our platform. All right, I think we talked about that quite a bit. Let's go to the second question. How will team handle service providers related issues associated with software issues? Example, Chimney. What happens if there is staking issues or downtime due to the software? Is it possible to do manual CLI configs? Yeah, I mean, look, the software, Chimney is a very simple software. It's a front end. So when you say there is a software issue, it's mostly either an SDK issue, because it's unlikely there will be a network issue, or or it could be a zero box issue too. So it's a backend issue. If there's a backend issue, then even a CLI won't help, and we need to fix it. But if it's a front end issue, yeah, they can use CLI. But in general, I don't foresee a front-end issue not being resolved within, let's say, an hour, because they're pretty easy to fix. If it's an SDK issue, it may take a couple of hours. So I think the downtime wouldn't take too long to fix it for the apps, because it's a front-end problem. But if it's a back-end problem, it may take a day. And so yeah, so that's how I would look at it. So and by the way, there will be issues, right? There will be bugs. I'm pretty sure there will be bugs. If there are no bugs, then we'll be the first company that doesn't have any bugs for their software. I mean, if you look at Microsoft, if you look at Apple, they all have bugs, and there will be bugs. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. There will be bugs. Will there be downtime? Yes, but we will try to contain it too. And we are a global team. That's another thing. We're a global team. We'll try to contain it and try to solve it in as little time as possible. And we're an agile team. We're not a big team, so everything is agile, and we have backups in the sense that there are multiple people involved that can solve the problem in short time. What will be the business development and marketing strategy to attract large-scale customers, Web3 businesses, and enterprise clients? Will you build a team for this? Are there any conversations going on at the moment with big clients? So our strategy is to get the small clients first. We want to have our first strategy is to get the service providers, and we already have a pipeline, a funnel for that. We have we expect we should be our target is to get about 100 providers, and then and I think we have come close to that pipeline that there are interest from about 100. Now, the next step is to build a pipeline for consumption of storage, and that will happen shortly. We have a team, obviously. We have a BD team, as you know, and they're working on getting those customers. And then the other thing is, we want to get developers as well. So if you look at the consumption, it's not just businesses, but we also want startups to build and use our platform. If you look at the history of AWS, or if you look at the history of Azure, they started with developers, and one of them became really big, and that's how it became a platform of choice. So we want to do hackathons, as you can see, the one hackathon we will do right now, even before mainnet happens. So we'll do these hackathons on a regular basis, probably once a week, as we build up our internal mechanism to handle it. But we want to basically do hackathons at least once a week, if not multiple hackathons per week. We want to have developers use our system, and that's how you build. That's how you get big clients. When the big clients, they see a lot of small companies, a lot of developers using our platform, then it's easier for them to now put some data on our platform. The first data they will put is backup data. They already back up in a couple of places. They either archive it, or they put it on AWS S3, or they put it on AWS S3 and Azure. So they do multiple backups. They also do data backups for AI, for conducting business intelligence on the data. And if they have a high performance platform, then they can use Zeus for that. So I think once we get so the strategy is get the providers first, because we want to show that we have enough capacity. Once we show enough capacity, then we can go after developers as well as small business clients. And the business clients, what I mean by small business clients, are essentially MSPs. So these MSPs, they store data on either like Wasabi or Datto or OneDrive. And we want to get those guys that handle small businesses to work with us. There's also Backblaze. So there's a number of data providers today that are used by these MSPs. They don't necessarily use AWS. And so let's get them first. And then once we get them and the developers, then we go after bigger clients. Because going after bigger clients right now, unless you have a relationship with them, it's a slow process. It's not going to be immediate. That's why we haven't wasted time on it, and we have a small team, so we can only go after small. We can only have one. We can only implement one strategy. All right. Question 4. What do you expect to be the split between retail customers and enterprise customers in terms of usage of the network? To be frank with you, I don't know. We have this Vault app and we have Chalk app. They're both retail customers, and we'll see. But you could have one enterprise customer that can put petabytes of data on the network. I know enterprise customers that have that much data today. So if they put 20 petabytes of data on the net on our platform, that can basically swamp all the retail customers that we have. Even if we have like a million, if we have a million users using Vault, then we will actually have petabytes of data that's required. So it really depends how well our apps do, Vault and Chalk. Right now, those are the only two consumer apps. Maybe one of the developers would build on Zeus, and they can, if their app spikes, then we will have usage. So it's hard to tell what will happen a month from now, 3 months from now, or a year from now. We don't have an idea. It all depends on the market adoption. Last question. When you're talking about raising money right after mainnet, will this be a ZCN token deal with a VC? If this is a token deal, there will be guarantees. Will there be guarantees in terms of selling pressure? So we when we talk about raising money, it'll be equity. So it'll be all basically capital. It's USD. It's not ZCN. It's not selling tokens. So that's basically, we have, you can think of us as having essentially 6 to 7 products, and each of those products are a SaaS product. Software as a service. SaaS is software as a service. So it's a SaaS product, and it's like any deals. If there are customers paying for it, then it's pretty much, and we have a growth rate from month to month or quarter to quarter. If we show that, then it's a pretty standard valuation in terms of raising capital up to that. So that's what we have right now. It's a SaaS product. We may do some deals, as I mentioned, to jumpstart the ecosystem for storing data on our on Zeus, but that's something we haven't really put much thought to it. It's sort of like a zero-sum game in terms of how in terms of facilitating. Basically, it's to facilitate our end users so that they don't deal with tokens. But eventually, we want everybody to work with the system. So initially we're gonna help people do that, but our future long-term plans is not to do that, because we want people to use our software and be comfortable to do that. And once we have, one of the things is, if you look at the software today, we only have ETH. We do not have USD yet. But if we have USD conversion, then there's no reason why the customers cannot do it themselves, down the road. So we expect that to be not a viable business from our point of view. Is just to jumpstart the ecosystem. We'll help them out, and in that process, we'll make sure that the token price is not affected. So we're not going to be selling tokens. We're going to be essentially net buying tokens for those deals. All right, so I think we covered everything, guys. I don't know if there are more questions. There's a question from Francisco Ferreira. Thank you, Francis, for congratulating us. I don't think you should congratulate yet, because we need to release mainnet. Maybe after that, I'll be gladly receiving congratulations. But yeah, I mean, look, this is we've been working in for 5 years. I don't know where Zeus will be in 5 years, but I hope that Zeus will be the go-to platform for cloud storage. I don't see any reason why anybody would not store on Zeus, because it's sort of like, if you look at the history, right? We went from personal computer. We went from from cloud, or what used to be called cloud, with VMS, where you dealt with a large computer, mainframe computer, to a personal computer where you had control of your own data and computing, to now back to cloud. Now I believe that I think people would want a combination of both, because that's why, if you look at history, people wanted control, which is why the personal computer happened, because they wanted control on computing and data on their own laptop, as opposed to giving it to a mainframe. But then the cloud came along. It's cheaper, easier to deal with, and easier to scale and manage, and therefore it made sense. But now I believe that people would, if given a choice, they would want control of their data and privacy, if they especially have better performance. I mean, I don't see any reason why people would not choose to go the decentralized route. So I believe that transformation will happen. And I believe what will happen is that, one of the big guys will actually endorse it, when they see this trend happening, and open up their data center to people to rent storage. So the current cloud providers will essentially be an infrastructure play where they rent out storage, similar to colos, right? Colo exists today. Is essentially the storage will become a colo model. They will still have the compute. I believe there's a lot of value in having a cloud compute, because there are certain things you can do in cloud that you cannot, do it really well, that you cannot really do in a decentralized fashion. And also, I don't know that there's a need for that. But the edge computing will also become, there's a need for edge computing. So, but I believe the moving the cloud storage into decentralized and moving them closer to the local places would make sense for performance, for performance reasons, and then you have the added benefits of security and being able to control your own data and privacy and all of that. So I believe that will happen. It's a question of how fast the adoption is. Actually, I wouldn't mind if the adoption is a little bit slow. I don't want it like an exponential increase, because we will have problems handling it. We'll have a different kind of problem then. Okay. Also, I believe this is a kind of company that you build once in a lifetime. Do you pretend to sell your company in the future, or you never thought about that? I haven't thought that far ahead. I just want to launch mainnet, and I hope to launch mainnet this month. I don't want to extend beyond this month. We're very close. I can taste it. So we just want to be focused on that, and then we can figure out what the future holds. So oops, sorry, there was a call coming in. Yeah, the other thing is that, the decentralized network is obviously cannot be sold. It's an open network. However, Zero Chain Corp is an entity, and that can be sold. So I just want to make it clear that the network will stay decentralized, but Zero Chain Corp, may be sold, but I don't foresee selling the company. So obviously, I will take investment, but I don't foresee selling the company anytime soon. All right, that's all for today. Thank you very much for joining us, and I hope to give you a lot more exciting news next AMA, which would be June 15th, I believe. and it would be on, hopefully by that time all the apps would be released on the mobile and desktop stores, and and all the apps, all the load test should be done by then, and then we can talk about ActiveSat at that point. So till then, thank you very much, and have a good weekend. And hope you guys had a great Memorial Day for those guys in the US. And I hope to see you